The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
21 plus and present in Virginia. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by Chevy Silverado. When it's time for you to ditch the blacktop and head off-road, do it in a truck that says no to nothing. The Chevy Silverado Trail Boss. Get the rugged capability of its Z71 suspension and 2-inch factory lift. Plus, impressive torque and towing capacity thanks to an available Duramax 3-liter turbo diesel engine. Where other trucks call it quits, you'll just be getting started. Visit Chevy.com to learn more.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Hello and welcome to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast with me, Rich Ferraro. It is Friday the 11th of April, and after a bruising week last week with ups and indeed downs, Forest return to action tomorrow against Everton, and we'll return to that topic a little bit later on. We're also going to have updates upon the netball team, the B team, and of course the women's team. But before we do that, let's head right over to the 1865 news desk, where we're joined once again by Jamie Martin.
Hi, this is Jamie Martin with this week's top 5 Forest stories from the 1865 news desk. Now, the headline to this week's news: Wembley dates have been confirmed by the club at last. After speculation as to when Nottingham Forest Wembley fixture against Manchester City will be played, the club have confirmed the date. The Reds will travel to the capital, to the nation's venue, as they face defending Premier League champions Manchester City in the FA Cup semi-final. The match will take place on April 27th at 4:30pm. This will be Forest's first trip to Wembley since their promotion back in May of 2022. The second piece of news, talking of Man City, Nottingham Forest star Morgan Gibbs-White has faced interest from the reigning champions. According to the Athletic's senior transfer expert David Ornstein, the Nottingham Forest star faces interest from Pep Guardiola's City, who look to spend big to secure a replacement for Kevin De Bruyne, whose contract expires on the 30th of June this year. The citizens are believed to be interested in Florian Wirtz from Leverkusen. Most, however, Gibbs-White is someone they admire highly. It is unclear as to whether the Boyhood United fan Gibbs-White would be open to such a move. Now, in the third piece of news this week, Awoniyi faces another spell on the sidelines. This is after a recent injury, which according to Nuno is to do with his hamstring. He believes that he tweaked his hamstring during the game against Manchester United, and therefore he is now on the sidelines. But there is no current date for his return mentioned just yet. Now, the number 4 piece of news this week. In another showing of fight, the Forest youth squad have come back to draw with a heavily equipped United side in the Premier League 2. It was a high-scoring 6-goal feature on Monday night as United fielded a strong starting 11, taking the lead early on before a Forest equaliser. The Red Devils' Chido Obi scored a brace between the first and second half, but 2 late Forest goals cancelled that out and secured a hard-fought point. A brilliant result for the youngsters. Now, the 5th piece of news this week concerns other Forest youngsters who are doing fantastic while on loan at their clubs. Ben Perry, he got into the League One Team of the Week. Joe Gardner, he now faces interest for a permanent move by his current club, Lincoln City, who of course he was loaned to earlier in the year, and unfortunately got suspended early on, but has now pulled it back and proved himself to be a great prospect. As for Jamie McDonald, though, he's smashing it at Colchester United as his side beat Notts County recently, with him earning the Man of the Match award in the process as well. So more good news concerning Nottingham Forest young prospects and the development system as a whole from the City Ground. But that is all from this week's news. I'm Jamie Martin. Be sure to catch up with me via X at I'm Jamie Martin, or on YouTube via Jamie Martin. More coming throughout the week, and we'll keep you up to date with that on the 1865 News Desk. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Jamie. It's good to hear your voice again. And to regular listeners, apologies for the fact that there was no Friday 5 last week. We did have a few leaves on the line, but we hope the fact that we were able to provide you with 3 match reports in a busy week hopefully made up for that a little bit. Now, this week we've got a familiar voice to those who've been listening to the podcast for some time, somebody who's well known from doing the little idents and voiceovers on our podcast. So hello to Emilka. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's great to be here.
Okay, and let's get straight into discussing some of those news stories that Jamie brought us. So the first one, and the most obvious one, is the fact that Forest have indeed got their date at Wembley sorted out. And of course, in the last few days, everyone's been talking about the importance of getting tickets and being ready for that big match, the semi-final. It feels a little bit weird, doesn't it? Because there's so much to play for this season.
Yeah, we've had a lot of games, and we're doing really well in the league. We're sticking to third, which is brilliant. And it would be really lovely though to also get a nice FA Cup game, another game in as well. Hopefully we'll get through to the final, but if we don't, it's a great away day for all the fans to get down to Wembley. Hopefully you've all managed to get a ticket.
Yes, and I'm very much looking forward to visiting the Twin Towers for the second time in 3 years after having been starved for so long before that. I don't know about you, Emilka, but I'm working on the basis of it's just brilliant to be in the semi-final. If we win it, then it'll feel pretty much unbelievable. I'm not sure I can think that far ahead yet.
We weren't imagining ourselves to be in this position again, where we are in the league and in a final, quarter-final, oh goodness, I can't even remember where I am. So in a semi-final.
That's how exciting it is, listener.
I'm so excited. I can't even imagine being here this time last year. So yeah, it's just a really great feeling.
And just before we talk about the kind of logistics of the semi-final, you did mention, of course, we are doing well in the league despite, a slight mishap last time out. I think the Villa match maybe was just one step too far after having had 120 minutes plus penalties against Brighton and then another match against Man United, which was is all a bit much, wasn't it?
It's absolutely no doubt that the players are tired. And we've got some really vital injuries happening at the moment as well. So we've really got to rely on the team to do well from every angle, whoever we've got. But not having strikers up front has probably affected us a little bit. So I think it's good that we're still in a great position for both.
Yeah, and so just as a reminder, in case any of you haven't looked at the table, I'm not sure I'm preaching to the right crowd here, but Forest are in third position on 57 points, and with results last weekend more or less favouring us, Chelsea are 4 points behind us on the same number of games. Newcastle are the same number of points but with a game in hand, and Manchester City in sixth position on 52 points. And what that means is that actually we've got that little cushion. Although Newcastle can get close, they can't get past us as things stand. So Forest have got their, as Nuno said in today's pre-match press conference, they've got their future in their hands. Now, just the other thing about the Wembley date, we have got the match on the Sunday, and of course it is a sort of, well, it's not quite a tea time, it's a 4:30pm kickoff, and that strikes me as being frankly a little bit annoying. What do you think, Emilka?
Yeah, definitely. I actually thought, because of the draw, that we'd probably be playing on the Saturday, but hey ho, these things actually don't always work out the way you want them to, but travelling fans having to get back from London again late night probably is going to be quite a trek for them. They'll be running on excitement fumes, I'm sure, getting there, but coming back again, who knows what's going to happen. So yeah, we've just got to keep all our fingers crossed. But yeah, it does seem a little bit out of, well, it doesn't seem quite fair that we're on the Sunday. timing.
Let's just point out there are direct trains. It's quite easy to get from Birmingham to northwest London. It takes just as long to get from South London, where Palace are based, to Wembley as it does to get there from Birmingham. But for the two northernmost teams to have the Sunday date, it doesn't sit well. And I understand that, of course, Villa have got their Champions League commitments and so on. But it doesn't sit well. I think there's going to be a lot of annual leave requests going into the managers in Nottingham workplaces for the Monday. Okay. Speaking of Manchester City, one of the rumours that came out, reported by David Ornstein in The Athletic, was that with Kevin De Bruyne announcing his departure from Manchester City, that City are looking at two possible targets. One is Florian Wirtz, and the other is our very own Morgan Gibbs-White. Now, let's just ignore the interest in a very good player from a team who've got all the money in the world to spend. Let's just think about this. If you were Morgan, would you want to go to City?
No, not really. And if you remember Jamie's little update, he mentioned that he was a United fan as well, so he's also got that going for him too. We're doing so well, and there's no guarantees that City are going to come back again next season, despite spending all the money. And we're doing well based on having a small team, everyone gelling really well together. Is he going to find those same relationships if he goes to City? Probably not.
And one of the things that came up in our group chat, involving actually Jamie and Adam, is that from a footballing point of view, it just wouldn't really make sense because, I mean, the classic case being Jack Grealish. You see Grealish as somebody who's a real free spirit, can play as a number 10, can play as a winger, give him the ball, let him run at defenders, find those pockets of space. And that's not what Pep Guardiola does. He wants people to play to a very specific way of playing. And of course, you look at Grealish and he looks like a shadow of the player because he's not able to do the things he's best at. Morgan is best finding pockets of space, trying to thread through those passes, and running with the ball. I'm not sure that City would be a good move for him.
No, and I don't think Grealish has had as many first-team chances either. He seems to have been sat on the bench quite a lot, and I don't think that would suit Morgan's play.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing is, of course, if you're playing for City, unless you're Haaland, even Ederson hasn't been sure of his place this season. So there's very few players at City who will know that they can play week in, week out. However, do you reckon the fact that Tommy Tuchel clearly wants to favour big six players means that Morgan might have his head turned?
Maybe. But I still think Tommy Tuchel, as you like to call him, has already got an idea of who he wants to go, regardless of who they're playing for.
Interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to Jamie's third story, which is the fact that our biscuit-built striker, Taiwo Awoniyi, I think it's still the case. He's never actually completed a full 90 minutes in a Forest shirt because in those first two seasons when he was playing, Stevie Cooper always substituted him after, about 70 minutes, 60, 70 minutes and brought him off. And now that we need an extra striker, what with Woody having been missing, Taiwo's broken again, and it seems like a hamstring injury that he may have picked up in the Man United match, and it's a real source of concern, isn't it?
Well, it feels like how do I want to put it, like if he's not getting the game time, then he could pick up an injury more quickly, and he just started to come back with confidence, and he was really starting to fit back into that first team again, and knowing how they all play together. I know that they say that they're all big one team, but you've got to get game time in order to be able to build up your confidence, and he really looked like to be in that pace. So it's a real shame. It's a shame for him because he is a great player and he does score great goals, but it's also a shame for us that we've got two out at the same time. Yeah,
and I mean, also I think there's something to do with, there's fitness and then there's match fitness, and bearing in mind as a forward in the Forest style of play, you've got to be willing to do quite a lot of running, setting off at quick pace and so on and so forth. And Taiwo does work in a different way to what Woody does, so he tends to play more off the shoulder of the defender. And if you've not been playing many matches, that's exactly when you can get muscular tweaks. So I think he's kind of been a victim of that as well a little bit. But yeah, undoubtedly a shame for the team as well as for Big T himself. So we'll come back to fitness issues in a little while in part 2 when we bring you the remaining stories and we look ahead to the match against Everton.
There are people out there all across the country pushing boundaries to grow the game of golf. Like champion speed golfer Lauren Cupp, who plays faster than anyone else. And Will Lowry, whose work in the golf community inspires more kids to get into the game. As a champion partner of the Masters, Bank of America supports everyone determined to find out what's possible. In golf and in life. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Bank of America N.A. member FDIC, copyright 2025, Bank of America Corporation, all rights reserved.
You're listening to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast.
Welcome back to 1865, the Nottingham Forest podcast, and our Friday 5 show featuring me, Rich Ferraro, Emilka, and we've been joined by the 1865 podcast. Now, Emilka, I'm just going to run the next 2 stories together because they both involve B-Team and B-Team players. So first of all, let's go to this story about the players who are out on loan. Basically, we know that players who are young players in a Premier League team, it's going to be hard for them to break through at top flight level. We know that Joe Gardner, Ben Perry and Jamie McDonnell are well thought of, and Gardner and McDonnell in particular have been doing well with their respective clubs, but they are playing several divisions down. So we've touched upon it before, but it's going to be really, really difficult for players to break through to first team level. So the more experience they can get, the better chance they have of building a career in the game, whether it be at Forest or elsewhere.
Well, yeah, and I agree. And if you think about Ryan Yates, they did send him out on loan, and he really did come back with a bang, and now he is the only first team member left. So you really want to prove yourself still, no matter which team that you're paying for, because yes, they'll either want to keep you, or another team will see you and think, oh, I really want to sign you. Or Forest will think, oh, we're really looking for someone like you and bring you back again. So, if they're doing well, it's great for them and great for our training and great for our academy.
And, coming back to that as well, Zach Abbott has been training with the first team. He's been spending time with the Moratos, Milenkoviches and Murillos and the Big Willies of the world. So that's one of those things whereby he's not been let out on loan, but he is part of the first team picture. And, of course, albeit slightly down to injuries, but he's been on the bench recently as well. So it just goes to show that there are options there. And of the players who are still at the club, the B team did draw 3-3 against Manchester United, as we heard in Jamie's report. And, it's a bit of a slog when you have those kinds of games, but also it's a sign of fighting spirit. The fact they came back, it was an away match, and it meant that they basically are in the kind of lower mid-table reaches of the Premier League 2, which is where they've mostly been. Being able to come back, it'd be very easy when United had players who have had a little bit of first-team experience, either on the bench or even on the pitch recently, and that's positive. And the Premier League 2 season does come to an end tonight as Forest play against Leicester's under-21s in the evening kick-off at 7 o'clock, which is going to take place at Loughborough University. So good luck to them. Just also a reminder that they have their Premier League International Cup semi-final against Bilbao, which is on Tuesday. So do get your tickets for that. And then also the women's team are back in action on Sunday away at Liverpool Feds as they start their run into the season. So Liverpool Feds this Sunday, next week is Stourbridge, and then the season finale at the City Ground unfortunately on FA Cup semi-final day. So that couldn't have been worse timing as well in terms of the semi-final draw, but that's against West Bromwich. So obviously Forest women will be looking to try and win the league. Just as a bit of a footnote as well, the netball team had a win against Loughborough last week, and that's 73-71. Now, I know nothing about netball, and I know it's not your favourite sport, Emilka, but it's one of those things whereby, Loughborough are the Super League champions, and it's great to see another Nottingham Forest team playing in Nottingham at the Motorpoint Arena and winning these matches. And of course, again, I don't know anything about netball scoring, but 73-71 is very close, and yet it's a win. Let's move back to the first team, and I mentioned earlier that Nuno said our future is in our hands. I think the real key question on everyone's lips is to do with the fitness of Chris Wood, Taiwo Awoniyi and Anthony Alanga. And Nuno, as you'd expect, playing his cards close to his chest. We're still assessing all of them. They're struggling with problems, some small, some not so small. We have one more day and then we'll see if they're available for the game. It could be all of them, it could be none who are fit. It depends upon how they recover and how they feel. He's really not telling us much there, is he?
He's really sitting on the fence on that one, but I absolutely don't blame him, because if he did say one was back, then we'd have an expectation on any of them coming back, and maybe an excitement or a guess about what the formation could look like. So let's see. Fingers crossed that one of them or is back. Maybe it will really help end the season with one of them to come back, if not all of them. But yeah, good luck and fingers crossed.
Yeah, and of course with Alanga going off, it's one of those substitutions where actually it probably worked out all right because Jota's slightly more aggressive in physically, isn't he? And that's what got us the consolation, what proved to be the consolation goal at Villa. But Jota ended up playing up front, and we've said a few times on the podcast that we can see Jota playing as a striker because his decision making isn't always the best when he's in various positions out on the wing. Certainly in defensive situations he's frankly a liability at times, but his ability in front of goal and his decision making and his finishing ability is good, and he proved that. Well, he's proven that with 3 goals in recent matches. So it's not ideal, but at least we know he can have a go and provide the Everton defence. Everton are obviously a very physical team and lots of physical players with Tarkowski and Branthwaite in defence. So Jota might be able to give him a slightly different problem if he does play. Having said that, we saw the wonderful interplay between Wood and Alanga up at Goodison, didn't we? And creating that brilliant head tennis goal. So, it'd be brilliant if we can have some of our first choice players available. What do you think about the weekend's game? Nuno said we see a good team that plays with intensity, and obviously they have been transformed since Deitch left and David Moyes returned.
Yeah, statistically they've got better, and I think that he's always fitted in, David Moyes. It didn't feel right when he went to United. It feels right now he's gone back to Everton. And yeah, he's probably given them a bit of confidence back. But I still think we can do it, even though they have, because, yeah, I agree about Jota. Again, it's one of those players that just needs more confidence coming on. He's definitely more of a player that can be brought on.
If anything, I would say he has too much confidence at times.
He's definitely a player that can come on if we really need somebody. And it would be nice not to go down 2 before half time, so we have so much to come back from. But Villa are a completely different team. I realise that. I've got a good feeling about Everton, so let's just wait and see.
Yeah, it's one of those whereby, Everton are in amazing form and they have kind of discovered ways to play that maybe they didn't have, as Nuno said, the intensity. But just looking at the Premier League table, really, Forest have got to be looking at that and thinking, well, this is a chance to try and get a result and try and, add to that cushion that we have in the Premier League. So let's hope so. The other thing is, of course, the clean sheets. So they've had 4 consecutive clean sheets at home, and that's not to be sniffed at. Do you think he is going to continue with 3 at the back, or do you think he's going to revert to a more normal setup, especially as Alex Moreno will be available again?
I think he might start with it, but if it starts to look tricky again, then he might change his formation. It's a hard one to predict because we've changed so many different players and had sort of different... I never quite know anymore what he's going to do. So yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I'll just sort of point out that I think that I anticipated that with the absence of a recognised left back, and well, I know Nico plays there, but you know what I mean, like a left-footed left back, and with the lack of strikers, that's why I anticipated he'd play sort of the 3 or the 5 at the back, depending on how you look at it, to try and keep it solid and then get the wingers breaking. So again, Everton, they are physical, but they're not necessarily that fast in defence, so maybe that gives us a bit of a clue. I guess we only have to wait another day and a bit to find out, depending upon when you're listening to this, listener. So I'm going to say thank you very much to Emilka and to Jamie for providing us with the news. We will be obviously bringing you a match report after the Everton game, and we will also give you updates next week on some of the other goings on with the B team, with the women's team, and so on. But in the meantime, thank you very much for listening. You can find all of our links at 1865.football. Come on, you Reds.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.